Okay, let's talk about the 2-5-1 progression, where it comes from, why it's important. Chances are, if you've been studying jazz at all, you've run into this progression. Maybe you've even studied it extensively already. But even if you're brand new to the concept of what this chord progression is, that's totally okay. I'm going to try to simplify it for you a little bit. So the 2-5-1 progression is basically the most common chord progression you're going to run into, especially in classic jazz, thinking mid 50s and before. But even in later jazz, thinking like 1960 post, the 2-5-1 progression is still very, very present and really important. And actually, it comes from classical harmony. The most important part of this is that 5 to 1, 5 to 1, dominant to tonic. Okay? This predominant here, 2, is also really important. And the chord qualities are something to study. So you'll see what I did here with the G major scale is I just stacked thirds in the key on every single note. And then I wrote chord symbols above the ones built on 2, 5, and 1. So that spells in the key of G, A minor 7. We have a minor triad on the bottom and a minor 7 on top. D dominant 7, which is a D major triad on the bottom, and then a C natural, which is a minor 7 on the top, and G major 7, which is a major triad with a major 7, just 1, 3, 5, 7 of the G major scale. I brought that down here and kind of put it in order, and that's your 2-5-1 progression in the key of G. So all three of these chords come from the key of G major. I just stacked thirds in the key. What you'll find in here is a lot of great voice leading. So the 7th of the minor chord, the G, voice leads really well down by half step to the 3rd of the dominant chord, which then is the same tone as the 7th of the major chord. So we have G, F sharp, F sharp. Same is true if I start on the 3rd of the minor 7 chord. That's the same tone. I could easily reorder this so that C is down here. That's the same tone as the 7th of the dominant 7 chords. We've got C, C, which leads down by half step to B, the 3rd of the major 7 chord. So that voice leading, those specifically are called your guide tone lines. And they just outline really good voice leading within the 2-5-1 progression, and they're super powerful tools for improvisation too. If we know the 3rds and the 7ths, we can kind of improvise based on that and be playing the most important and richest parts of the harmony as an improviser, as a soloist. So a great exercise for you would be to outline this harmony on, if you play any piano, it would be great to outline this harmony on the keyboard, but you can also just play these as arpeggios on the saxophone and just play 1, 3, 5, 7 of each of these chords. Take this around as many keys as you can. All 12 eventually, but if you can take it around the first half of the circle of fifths, you'll be in a really good position to improvise well over most jazz standards. These chords are also really useful independently because we can look at A minor 7 on its own and just think A to A in the key of G. That's called Dorian mode. If you don't know about modes, then we'll cover that eventually. D to D in the key of G is D mixolydian, and G to G, a fancy name for a major scale, is actually Ionian. Those are all modes that we can associate. But we're not really thinking modally right now. We're thinking about this chord progression as just a way to get back to G major. This also works in minor keys. This could be A minor 7, D dominant 7, G minor. We would just have to keep in mind how the G minor was functioning, okay? So practice this progression in a few different keys. Let me know if you have any questions. Hopefully it's helpful, and I'll see you in the next training.